Good day! Welcome to another episode of Ped Titas, and Tito. Ngayong araw, kasama niyo po ako, si Dr. Christine Cusi from Cebu City. And of course, yung partner ko po, si Dr. Toyang from Manila. And for this episode, kasama pa rin po natin yung dalawang special guest natin, si Doc Janice all the way from Canada and Doc Jack from Manila.
Maraming salamat kay Doc Janice at kay Doc Jack at sumama sila sa aming mga school age videos dahil pareho sila ay maraming mga experiences na masishare sa atin. Si Doc Janice has school age kids and si Doc Jack nalampasan na ng mga anak niya ang school age. Napag-usapan na namin ang development ng mga toddlers at ng mga preschool children. Kung hindi po ninyo napanood ang mga video na yon, check out the Ped Titas channel on YouTube. Ngayon, sisimulan na namin ang development ng tinatawag na school-age children. Ang school-age children ay ang mga bata na pumasok na ng grade 1. Karaniwan, ito ay mga bata na 6 years old until 12 years old before they enter adolescence or the teenage years. Sa panahon na ito, minsan hindi na ganun kalinaw kung ano ba ang school age. Pero ang madalas naman, ang average ay 5 years old, pumapasok sa kinder, so tinatawag pa itong preschool age. And pagdating ng 6 years old, nasa grade 1, dito na nagsisimula ang school age.
Sisimulan ko po ito by talking about their growth. During this time po, hindi na po kasing bilis yung growth nila katulad ng earlier years. We expect them to have discontinued growth spurts at about 3 to 6 a year, lasting for about 2 weeks. Tapos po, we also expect them at this age to gain at about 7 pounds or around 3 kilos a year or 2.5 inches din po per year. During this time, yung development po nila sa motor skills po ay nag-i-improve po yung neuromotor control nila, yung coordination nila, pati po yung speed nila. When they reach 6 years old, we expect them to be able to ride a bike, yung dalawa na lang pong gulong, to be able to walk on a balanced beam on both directions, and to be able to stand on one foot for about 6 to 10 seconds each. So sa panahon na to, kapag yung bata po ay very uncoordinated pa po, it is a red flag na kailangan niyo po siyang ipacheck sa doktor.
Pag pinag-uusapan po natin ang fine motor skills sa school-age children, it really comes back down to getting enough practice. Ang paghahasa sa pagsusulat, paggamit ng kamay sa iba't ibang mga gawain. For example, ang typical na kindergarten o kaya grade 1 student, hindi pa ganun kagaling magsulat. At least ng mga letters, magaling na sila mag-drawing. Pero ang paghahasa sa pagsusulat sa paggamit ng mga linya, hindi po ba nung bata tayo, sinasabi ng mga magulang natin, itapat mo ang mga letra sa tamang linya. O dapat yung mga bar o mga line, dapat nagtatouch talaga kung meron tayong mga blue, red at saka blue lines. Ang mga gawain ito ay kailangan ipag-practice. Hindi ito nahahasa o nangyayari basta-basta lang for yung mga children. Kailangan rin tayo mag-set aside really ng time para to comment and to give productive criticism to our children in terms of how they write or how they hold their pencil. Pati nga ang grip alam mo yung mga to pagsasanay talaga. Hindi ito nangyayari na nagpupulot lang sila ng lapis at magaling na sila magsulat. As our children become better and better through the years, you will also see that yung mga requirements nila sa school will also increase. They'll be asked to write more sentences, write paragraphs, and it is this practice actually which helps them become a lot better in using their hands to write or to draw or to produce good works.
Pagdating naman sa language skills ng mga school-age children, dati pa sa preschool years ay nabuo na ang basis ng kanilang language. So pagdating dito sa school age, medyo sanay na talaga sila na fluent na sila magsalita. Nakakapagkwentuhan na sila, diretso na sila magsalita. After 5 years old, if there are kids who are stuttering, we expect na hindi na sila nagsastutter sa edad na ito. Minsan, merong mga bata, especially if they're below 8 years old, minsan merong mga bata na pag-stressed o kaya excited, may ilang beses na magsastutter sila, but it should not be consistent stuttering anymore. So, sa edad na ito, kung merong mga bata na hirap pa magsalita, hindi pa fluent magsalita, or merong mga bata na nagsastutter pa rin, pwede po ninyong sabihin sa inyong pediatrician. Sa edad na ito, hindi lang spoken language ang iniisip natin. Naalala po ninyo sa mga videos namin tungkol sa mga toddlers and preschool children, lagi namin sinasabi na hindi pa expected sa edad nila ang matuto magbasa at magsulat. Pero sa school age years, kasama na ito sa mga expected skills. Hindi lang ang spoken language, pero pati rin ang written language. So, dapat nakakapagbasa na sila. Ang language skills ay actually ang basis ng kanilang pre-reading skills. So, yung mga preschool kids, yung mga nursery rhymes, sa totoo lang, if you look at the guidelines of the American Academy of Pediatrics, learning to recognize rhymes are actually part of pre-reading skills. So they do this during the preschool years. By the time that they are 3 or 4 years old, they are starting to learn what you call letter and sound correspondence. So nalalaman nila na, ay, itong letter of the alphabet corresponds to tunog or itong mga sounds na ito. Then by the time they are 5 years old, they are starting to learn which letters corresponds to which sounds. So letter A na nakasulat sa papel corresponds to the sound of A or A. Ito ay guidelines galing sa American Academy of Pediatrics. So siguro naririnig ninyo to. So sabi niyo, 5 years old pa niya matututo to na yung letter A ay A? Oo, ito ay ayon sa guidelines ng American Academy of Pediatrics. Yan ang expected skills. Siyempre, meron tayong mga bata na mas advanced. By the time they are 3 or they are 4, they're already able to do this. But if they cannot do it at that age, wag po natin sila pilitin. Pero dito, at the school age years, we expect that they should be able to do this already. They are learning to read by the time that they are in grade 1. Siyempre sa atin, expected dapat pagkapasok nga ng kinder, gusto nila marunong na magbasa. But if you look at the international standards and based on researches of children all over the world, grade 1 is the time that they are learning to read. And by the time that they are already in grade 3, dapat master na nila ang reading. And by the time they are in grade 3, they are at the stage where they are reading to learn. Pag nasa ganitong edad na siya at hirap pa rin siya magbasa, sabihin po ninyo sa inyong pedya. So, ang red flag sign para sa mga bata na grade 3 and up is what you call slow and effortful reading. Yung pag nagbabasa sila, parang hirap na hirap sila. Or yung binabasa pa nila yung mga letters isa-isa, or hindi sila nakakapag-recognize ng sight words. Kasi karamihan sa atin, kunyari makita mo yung salitang cat. Hindi mo na kailangan basahin C-A-T, cat. Isang tingin pa lang, alam mo na cat yon. Meron na agad image ng pusa na pumapasok sa mga utak natin. So dapat ganun ka-automatic ang pagbasa. Pag hindi pa ganun ka-automatic ang pagbasa ng bata during this time, then you tell your pediatrician. We have to watch out for learning disabilities. These are actual medical conditions. Ito ay merong basis talaga sa brain at sa utak ng mga bata. Bakit mahalaga na ma-recognize ito? Kasi pag merong mga bata na merong learning disability and then hindi na-recognize, minsan nababrand sila na slow learner or underachiever or minsan nababrand na ay tamad sila. So lagi silang pagagalitan na ano ba, itong mga batang to, hindi talino yung problem eh. It's a different part of the brain compared with the usual everyday intelligence. So hindi tuloy nila naiisip kung bakit ang talino ng batang ito, bakit ganito yung performance niya sa school. So iniisip tuloy nila na tamad yata eh. So lagi lang sasabihin dun sa bata na, uy, magsipag ka, you're not working hard enough. So na-frustrate yung bata and na-affect ang kanyang self-esteem kasi the child is actually trying very hard pero iba ang wiring. Pero merong something dun sa wiring ng utak niya na hirap talaga sila. And there are remedial programs for that. We invited a reading specialist to join us in one of our future episodes. So if you want to learn more about reading problems and reading remediation, join us for our future video. This is a medical problem. Kung merong batang may hika na hirap huminga, sasabihan ba natin yung batang may hika na, Just try harder. You can breathe. You can do it. Go. Positive thinking, encouragement. Just try harder. No, of course not, di ba? Gagamutin natin ito. The same thing goes for things like learning disabilities and other medical conditions related to development in the school-age child.
In terms po of their personal social development, sa age po na ito, yung thinking po nila, it starts to shift from being egocentric. Ibig sabihin, hindi na lang po yung sarili nila yung iniisip nila. They start to think about others, about how others feel. So, nade-develop na po yung empathy nila. Sa age din po na ito, naiintindihan na po nila yung mga rules. Actually, from 5 to 11 years old, mapapansin niyo po yung mga bata at medyo strict sa rules. Parang sa kanila black and white, right or wrong. There is no gray area. In terms of social skills naman po, during this time, at around 6 to 8 years old, nagkakaroon na po sila ng best friend of the same gender. They start to identify with children na same po ng gender nila. Tapos peers have a more important role in their lives as they get older. Ine-expect na po namin sila, by the time they turn 6 years old, independent na po sila sa lahat. Sa pagkain, sa pagligo, sa pagbihis. Kaya hindi nyo na po sila kailangan tulungan at this age that they establish their independence more. So you have to give it to them as well. Ano po ba yung mga red flags na babantayan natin sa domain na to? So one is the lack of empathy. Yung hindi po sila nakaka-relate sa mga nararamdaman ng ibang tao. This is a red flag sign for autism. Next po is yung lack of friendships na nade-develop. Kasi yun nga po, mas importante na po yung peers nila during this time. So kung napapansin niyo po na wala pa po siyang masyadong relationships with his peers, this is also something that you should observe and monitor.
Totoo nga yung sabi ni Doc Pusi na at this age, dapat independent na sila sa self-help skills. So, talk to your child, come up with a routine, tapos pwedeng sila na yung gumawa ng mga bahagi ng routine nila na kaya nilang gawin.
Naman, pag-uusapan ko is yung cognitive skills or academic skills. Meaning, ano yung ine-expect natin sa mga batang pumapasok sa school in terms of yung sa pag-iisip nila. So, paano sila mag-isip, ano yung kakayahan nila in terms of ano yung mga kaya nilang maalala na bagay, ano yung dapat alam na nila na automatic. School age, usually ito nagsisimula sa 6 years old. Kaya lang, meron tayong mga paaralan na tumatanggap ng mga bata na kasing bata ng mga 5 taong gulang. So magsisimula ako sa ano ba ang ma-expect natin sa isang 5-year-old? Ano yung kaya nilang gawin at ano yung kaya nilang matandaan? So sa isang batang 5 taong gulang, ang inaasahan natin ay alam na nila yung sarili nilang pangalan, ang edad nila, kaarawan nila, at yung address nila. Maliban doon, dapat may kakayahan silang magbilang. Ang expected natin, ang inaasahan natin ay ang mga batang ito nakakaalala ng 4 na numero na narinig nila na nabanggit. So halimbawa, ang bata, narinig niya na sinabi sa kanya ng magulang niya, 8394, dapat kaya niyang ulitin yung 4 na numero yon at wala siyang makakalimutan sa mga numero yon. Pag nagkukwento sila, usually nag-a-acting na rin yan. Umaarte sila. Na-arte nila kung ano yung nangyayari sa kwento nila. Alam na rin nila yung kaibahan ng araw at gabi. Kaya na rin nilang ikumpara ang dalawang bagay base sa ibang. Kung ano ang mas mabigat, ano ang mas magaan. Pag 6 years old na sila, ano yung mga ine-expect natin na kahit gawin ng isang 6-year-old? So, ang 6-year-old, expected namin kaya nilang magbilang hanggang 13. Diba, nakakagulat yun? Kasi yung mga paaralan, usually ang expect nila kaya nilang hanggang 50, ganyan, hanggang 20. Actually, ang basic natin is up to 13 numbers only. And yung numbers ngayon na kaya na nilang i-memorize or matandaan kapag nabanggit sa kanila, umaabot na ng 5 numero. Gaya nga ng nabanggit ni Dr. Yang, marunong na sila tungkol sa mga bagay-bagay sa pera. So, ang expected natin, ang isang 6-year-old na bata, kaya na nilang ma-recognize 4 na klaseng coins or bills. Kaya na nilang masabi na, ito ang 100, ito ang 500, ito ay 20 pesos, Sa coins, ang kaya nila is piso, 10 piso, 5 piso, gano'n. Pero hindi natin na expect na memoryado nila lahat ng numero or lahat ng coins na meron. Pag nagpa-practice tayo or pag tinuturuan natin ng bata, bumili sa tindahan, we also try to simplify it. Apart from this, ano pang kaya ng isang 6-year-old? Kaya na niya sabihin kung ano ang right, ano ang left. So, ano ang kanan at saka ang kaliwa. Okay? So, 6 years old pa lang natin yun ina-expect. There are different theories of cognition or development of thinking that we base these milestones on. What are the other things that we expect 6 years old to be able to do? We expect na kaya na nilang makapagbigay ng 3 adjective and kaya na rin nila magbigay ng definition ng mga salita, and usually limitado to sa mga 3 to 5 new words at a time. There are different theories of development also in terms of thinking that have been studied by different psychologists in the past. One of them would be Erikson. So Erikson notes that at this age, the struggle of a child is industry versus inferiority. Ano yung ibig sabihin nito? They struggle with their independence and figuring out kung ano yung mga kaya nilang gawin and what they are successful in achieving. And also, if they're not able to attain that confidence or that expertise in the tasks that's laid out to them in school, that they can feel inferior and suffer from poor self-esteem. There are 2 other theories. The theory by Piaget that talks about concrete operations, meaning that at the school age, these children, yung pag-isip nila, kaya na nilang isipin na, example, yung tubig sa 2 maliit na baso, pag nilipat mo yung laman ng isang maliit na baso sa mas malaking baso, pareho pa rin yun, na yung tubig hindi dumami just because lumaki yung lalagyan. So that's something that happens. But they can only think about things logically if it's physical. Kailangan nakikita nila, nahahawakan nila, or naisusulat nila. So, example, yung numbers, pwede na silang mag-solve ng math problems base sa nakikita nila. May mga bata nagsisimula mag-drawing ng stick, tapos magbibilang muna sila. Pag pinamemorize mo or pag pinaisip mo malalaking numbers, sabihin mo 15 plus 4, medyo hirap sila kung hindi nila naisusulat. The other thing is the morality or yung pag-iisip nila based on what is right or wrong. And one of the theories that was given out was by Kohlberg that talks about how at this stage, yung sense nila of tama at mali ay base sa rules. Kaya nga nang sabi ni Doc Cusi, they're very rigid. Kung ano yung sabi ng rules, yun lang yung dapat mangyari. Kung ano yung sabi ng law, yun lang ang dapat masunod. Kahit na minsan, yung dahilan na lumabag ka halimbawa sa isang rule or law ay dahil maganda yung intention mo or naiintindihan mo dahil mas matanda ka na pwede yun maging exception. For a school-age child, there are no exceptions to the rules that they have. I think Doc Toyang also mentioned something about learning how to read and reading to learn. And that is a very nice, distinct difference in the school age that we see between 8 and 9 years of age. Meron mga paaralan na ang gusto nila, pag nagsusulat, nagtuturo na sila ng script. And may mga paaralan na nagtuturo ng script as early as 7 years of age. Bakit ito minsan nagiging problema? Minsan nagiging problema ito dahil yung bata, natututo pa lang siyang magbasa ng letra at natututo pa lang siyang mag-connect na yung letra at yung sound paano sila magkasabay. Once you add a different facet to the writing, ibig sabihin maliban sa kailangan nilang mag-memorize kung paano magbasa ng block letters, ngayon ginawa mo pa siyang script, minsan lalong nahihirapan yung bata magbasa. The problem is when they don't master how to read in the younger years, it adds on to putting them at risk for learning disorders when they're older kasi hindi sila magaling or hindi nila na-master yung skill ng reading.
Totoo nga yung sabi ni Doc Janice na sa edad na to, konkreto sila mag-isip. Ayon nga dun sa psychologist na si Jean Piaget, ang mga batang nasa school age years ay nasa tinatawag na concrete operational stage. So, ibig sabihin, ang pag-iisip nila ay yung mga konkreto, mga nakikita nila, mga nahahawakan nila. Hindi lang po ito nag-a-apply sa school, pero nag-a-apply rin po ito sa behavior, tapos sa pag-uutos natin sa kanila. Kung tuturuan natin sila ng tamang behavior, dapat sabihin natin concretely kung ano yung ini-expect natin sa kanila. Halimbawa, mahilig tayo na sabihin natin na, oh, dapat good boy ka, dapat good girl ka. So sabihin natin ng concretely kung ano ba yung ini-expect natin sa kanila. Sa edad na to, di ba sabi nga po natin, they're being more conversant already and they're starting to understand the rules already. So pwede na po natin sila i-involve para i-decide kung ano yung mga acceptable na behaviors para sa kanila. Pwede na natin sila i-involve in deciding kung ano yung mga rules in the household, ano yung mga rules in the family, and kung ano yung mga acceptable behaviors. Pansin namin maraming mga classrooms, ito nga po yung ginagawa nila. The teachers will discuss together with the children and they partner with the children in deciding what are the house rules in the classroom. Pwede rin po natin to i-apply sa bahay.
So, what other things do we consider sa edad na to? 5 years old, 6 years old, 7, 8, they're learning how to read. Nagiging problema kapag ang paaralan, nagtuturo na sila ng problem solving in words, example sa math. Because math in itself is also a language. And I think a lot of people forget that math is a language in itself. It's a non-verbal language, but it's a language. It uses symbols and it uses also logical thinking. When you mix math problems as word problems for younger children, so sa mga 8 years and below, nagiging challenge ito para sa kanila kasi hindi pa sila gaano expert sa pagbabasa. So ang nangyayari pag nilalagay mo ang isang math problem as a word problem, you're actually complicating things for the child. Kasi kailangan pa nilang i-decode yung words, tapos kailangan nilang intindihin, tapos magde-decode pa sila ng numbers based on that, and kailangan nilang i-translate yung words to numbers. Maraming mga bata na nahihirapan and sometimes yung mga schools, yung mga guro, they tag the child as having math difficulties. When in reality, sometimes in the younger age group, it's not math difficulties, but it's because they're still not masters of the verbal language itself. So I think these are things that we need to consider. And as educators, as parents, we also need to be aware at kailangan natin alamin kung ang bata ba ay nahihirapan dahil sa pag-intindi sa numero o ang bata ba ay nahihirapan dahil natututo pa lang silang magbasa. What are some of the red flags that we see in school-age kids? Some of these include yung gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, pag hindi nila kayang ma-differentiate yung araw sa gabi or yung oras, yung mga weekdays, araw sa isang linggo, hindi nila maalala, we kind of think of working memory problems. Ibig sabihin, medyo hirap silang maalala yung mga dapat automatic, or yung mga dapat sa paulit-ulit na aalala na nila agad. So counting, when they cannot sustain attention, hindi sila umaabot sa 13 kapag nagbibilang sila dahil example, 1, 2, 3. Tapos biglang na-distract na, may iba na silang nakita. So, hindi na nila maalala kung nasa number sila. So these are some of the red flags that we can see. Attentional difficulties, staying on task, and then sabi nga ni Dr. Yang, sometimes it can also appear in speech. Yung mga batang nagbabasa, tapos nagsisimula silang magbasa, same word. Sabihin natin cat, C-A-T. So, dapat palaging cat yung nababanggit nila. Pero may mga bata na pag tinitingnan sila sa mga letras, sabihin na cat, minsan at, minsan tak. So, hindi palaging consistent yung pagbasa nila sa isang salitang dapat simple lang. It kind of makes us think already na baka may ibang problema at baka kailangan magpatingin sa doktor. In school age, it's also very important as pediatricians to think about hearing difficulties and visual problems. So, ibig sabihin yung panlalabo ng mata, pagduduling, minsan tinatawag sila or may nag-lecture sa classroom, tapos hindi sila masyadong nakikinig. Minsan, hindi yun dahil sa hindi sila interesado. Minsan, hindi dahil bored sila. Minsan, dahil yun, hindi nila nakikita ng malinaw ang mga nakasulat sa pisara or sa computer. Or minsan, hindi nila nadidinig ng malinaw kung anong sinasabi ng kanilang mga kaklase or tinuturo ng guro.
Bilang mga magulang, ano pong mga tips na pwede niyo pong i-share dun sa mga parents na nakikinig about dealing with their school-age children? Can we start with Doc Jack?
Okay. Para sa akin, I have 2 daughters. Kahit nung mas bata pa sila, we tried to make a really good effort to teach them new things, introduce them to new concepts, give them opportunities. Kadalasan ang mga nakikita ko ngayon, ingat, dahil pumapasok po tayo, minsan, iniiwan na lang natin sa teacher na magturo ng mga new things and we really don't get to follow it up. Kadalasan, pag tinatanong ko po yung mga pasyente ko, sabi ng mga magulang, pag tinuturuan ko yung sarili kong anak, nag-aaway na lang kami. And that's true. Pero you have to remember, ang pag-aaway po is also a part of getting to know your child better. Pag tinuturuan niyo po yung anak ninyo, mas nakikilala po ninyo yung anak ninyo. Alam mo yung mga kiliti niya, kung paano siya mapapasaya o kung paano mo pa siya mapapasunod. And as you go along, there will be difficulties kasi yun na nga, you are teaching something new. But getting to know your child better, the way we also tried to teach our daughters, made it easier. So with time, pati yung bata, hindi na siya palaban, hindi na siya parating sumasagot or nagrereklamo ng napakahirap naman ang tinuturo. It is a relationship that you'll have to develop over time. Even helping children with their schoolwork is something very important. You also have to know naman kasi kung ano yung tinuturo ng teacher. Para pag may tanong ang mga bata, kaya mo ring sagutin. And the best way is to really delegate or segregate some time to sit with them and learn with them also.
Totoo nga po yan, Doc Jack. Mahalaga talaga ang connection natin with our kids. Tulad nga ng nabanggit kanina, sa edad na ito, mas importante na kasi ang kanilang mga kaibigan. If during the toddler and preschool years, parang tayo ang bida sa buhay nila, dito, mas bida na ang kanilang mga kaibigan. Minsan, ugali nila, baka parang ayaw na nila tayong masyadong kasama. Pero sa totoo lang, based on studies of child development, they need us as parents just as much as ever. So, kailangan maging involved tayo sa kanilang buhay. Priority pa rin ang ating connection kasama nila. Tandaan natin na lagi nga sinasabi ng mga experts on positive parenting or positive discipline, it's always connection before correction. So, kung gusto natin na ma-influence ang ating anak para sa mabuti, kung gusto natin sila turuan, kailangan makipag-connect tayo sa kanila. Dapat maglaan pa rin tayo ng oras para sa kanila. Malamang busy ang schedule natin, busy ang schedule nila. Mag-set tayo ng time na one-on-one na tayo kasama ng mga anak natin to be able to connect. At kailangan meron tayong time kasama nila. Kailangan patuloy pa rin ang communication natin with our kids. This sets a good foundation for the school age years and even the adolescent age. Pagdating nung stormy na adolescent age, di ba sa adolescence, yan ang classic na merong mga stormy time. Dapat during the school age years, yung foundation ng relationship that we built with them during the earlier years, tuloy natin ang connection, tuloy natin ang relationship with our kids, tuloy natin ang habit of regularly setting special time with our kids.
And you have to remember, when it comes spending time with our kids, a really good way is eat with them. Huwag sila maunang kumain. If you know that you can come home early from work, o kung work from home tayo ngayon, mag-set aside tayo ng time as much as possible na sabay-sabay tayo kumain. These are very good experiences talaga or opportunities para sabay-sabay tayo nag-uusap tungkol sa ano nangyari sa araw na yon o kaya kung kumusta na po sila. And remember, when they see us, when they are with us, they will also follow our example. Bilang magulang, we can't stress it enough. Now, we have to be good role models. And how do we become good role models? By spending time with them and letting them see how we act, kung paano tayo nagbibigay galang kay lolo at kay lolo, kung paano natin tinatrato ang ating mga asawa o yung mga ibang kapatid po nila. Ito ang mapipick up po nila. And better they pick it up from us then they pick it up from other people we don't know. Hindi po ba?
Totoo yan, napakahalaga talaga ang having meal times together with the family. At least set dinner na magkakasama ang pamilya na kumain. In terms of child development, ang dami nilang matututunan for having dinner together as a family. Hindi lang to para sa school-age kids, ngunit para sa bata ng lahat ng edad. Natututunan nila aside from self-help skills, social skills, natututunan din nila ang language skills.
Education doesn't just happen in school. So there are so many opportunities at home where you can teach your children. Sabi nga po ni George Santayana, who is a Spanish writer, he said that a child educated only in school is an uneducated child.
I actually agree with all of you because I believe that everyone is busy, no? Lahat tayo may trabaho, ganyan. Minsan sobrang busy, pag uwi mo, pagod ka na. But I would encourage all parents, kahit sabihin mo 15-20 minutes of your time, build a routine to spend time with your children. Especially now with the event of online schooling and homeschooling, don't just assume that your child spending time in school is going to be enough for their learning. Kasi ang iba't ibang mga bata, may iba't ibang tact, ibig sabihin, may iba't ibang paraan din sila para matuto. Not everyone learns in the same way. How a teacher will teach in a classroom, kahit na tutor will tutor after school. If it's going to be in a group, nobody else will have as much invested in your child's learning as you will as a parent of that child. And so, the more time that you spend with your child to figure out kung ano yung naiintindihan niya, kung saan siya nahihirapan, kung hindi siya nagkakaroon ng friends sa school and nabubuli pala siya, these are moments of not just bonding, but also figuring out how you can help your child best. I would like to share a personal experience. And mapupunta tayo ulit sa word problems because as you can see, pet peeve ko talaga siya kapag tinuturo ng masyadong maaga. But I had an experience with both my children who had to have word problems as early as grade 1. So at 6 years of age, they had to solve word problems. And naging challenge talaga yun para sa kanila kasi hindi naman sila interesado kung ilang mansanas ang meron ng kung sino man. No? So, paano to? Kung hindi sila matututo, babagsak sila. Diba? Tapos sasabihin, bobo yung anak mo. Tapos magiging poor self-esteem siya kasi iisipin niya, tanga siya. Diba? Hindi naman yun yung totoo. So, ang ginawa ko, I actually spent time to figure out paano kaya siya maeengganyo, matuto, mag-solve ng word problems. So, inalam ko kung ano ba yung interest ng anak ko nung time na yun. Magkataon, yung panganay ko, sobra siyang obsessed sa Mixels. Hindi ko alam kung alam niyo pa yun. Pero Lego siya. Tapos, memoryado niya yung mga characters, sobra siyang into it, sobra siyang interesado. So, ginawa ko yung word problems, lahat ng word problems ko, Mixel characters na lang. And biglang, sobrang exciting na para sa kanya ang word problems. So ngayon, interesado na siya and energized siya matuto kasi gusto niya yung topic. And a teacher in a school will not do that for your child. You as a parent has more bonding and so you will know what will help your child learn best. So I want to encourage you, kahit 15 minutes, talk to your child, find out what's important. Because think of learning as building blocks. And the stronger the foundation, the taller that tower can be. So you have to invest early so that gaya nga sabi ni Doc Toyang, when they hit the teenage years, hindi kayo nangangapa sa dilim, hindi niyo alam kung ano nangyayari sa buhay ng mga anak natin.
Doc Janice, Doc Jack, meron din kaming tanong para sa mga parents ngayon. Sa panahon na ito na sarado ang mga schools, may mga iba-ibang options ang mga parents katulad ng homeschooling, online schooling. May masashare po ba kayo na tips sa mga parents about schooling and learning during this time?
Well, para sa akin, ang 2 daughters ko ngayon ay nag-online distance learning. Siyempre, ano po ba ang kailangan natin dito? Kailangan natin, for example, ng Zoom connection at kahit papaano, nasa magkabilang dulo sila ng kwarto. I think, when we talk about online schooling, it also depends on how old your children are, how independent you as parents have made them through training, through good modeling. It doesn't mean that they will not need our help. Definitely they will every so often. Online distance learning is a new thing for everybody. Ang nakikita namin ngayon, we're going through test classes now. People are trying out different things. One thing parents need to remember is kung work talaga kayo from home, you will still be required to really find time to spend with your kids. Hindi lang sa pagtulong sa kanila sa paggawa ng homework, but it's really to make sure that what is also being taught is something that they can pick up. Remember, ibang-iba rin ang social cues ng kailangan ng bata pagkaharap nila ang screen. Dati, ang mga bata ay pwedeng tumingin ng kaliwat kanan, nakikita nila yung galaw ng mga kaklase nila, kung anong ginagawa nila, at doon nila binibase ang behavior nila. Right now, kasi they are not always going to be able to see their classmates on the screen. They will see their teacher, they will see the lessons, and there are so many things that could actually distract them from listening properly. Tsaka listening to or having to look at the camera is very difficult for them. So you have to understand that online schooling may put a little more stress than usual, especially in the first few months when everybody is still adjusting. That is where you as a parent comes in. If you're at home, working from home, spend the first few weeks of school with your children. Make sure that they adjust to the system. Ngayon, iba na. Classes are a little shorter. Breaks are a little longer because we also have to help our children recharge. Spend this time sitting with them. O, nagka-problema ka ba sa pag-connect? May mga pinapaggawa ba ang teacher na hindi ka masyadong familiar, so kailangan mo ng tulong? Remember that our children will also need some help tech-wise. It's not just with the academics that they'll have to learn. And so spend the first few weeks siguro with your children. You don't have to be beside them, but maybe you can also work in the same room and listen to what is going on. Hindi po ba?
So my experience is different from Doc Jack kasi yung mga anak ko, may option sana sila mag-online distance learning. But yung bunso ko kasi very self-aware siya. Kilala niya talaga yung sarili niya. So nung nalaman niya kung paano yung format ng online school, sinabi na talaga niya sa amin na mukhang hindi para sa kanya yun. Kasi mabilis siyang ma-distract. So alam niya na kung online siya, pwede siyang tumakas at madali para sa kanya yung hindi makinig at hindi mag-participate sa klase. So we talked about online schooling versus homeschooling, and in the end, we decided to homeschool instead. So homeschooling is a little harder in the sense that you don't have other classmates to see, but it has benefits na hindi sila nakatutok sa computer, so I don't have to worry about eye strain as much and the mental fatigue that can come from that. Kasi maraming studies na nagpapakita rin na kung masyadong mahaba yung oras na nakaharap sila sa computer, napapagod rin yung brain. I think for Doc Jack, since shorter yung classes, it was a very good option and yung mga anak niya mas malaki na rin. Our school kasi, the initial proposal was going to be a whole day of computer. So 8 until 4 or 8 until 3:30. So ako na nakaharap ako sa computer araw-araw buong araw, alam ko kung paano yun nakakapagod para sa isang bata. So we went with homeschooling instead, but as I said, yung problem naman ay wala silang classmates. You have to set rules. Gaya nga nang nabanggit ni Dr. Yang earlier, you have to set school rules for homeschooling. So you build a routine around it. You have school rules within the time na nag-homeschool ka para alam nila hindi rin sila pwedeng lumabag sa rules na yun. And alam nilang may kapalit na consequence kung hindi sila sinusunod. And then the other thing that we had to think about was the PE, the physical activity. You have to insert it outside of school hours, lalo na kung nagtatrabaho rin yung nakita.
Napakaganda nga po ng sinabi ng ating mga guests. Ang school age years ay isang masayang panahon nakikita talaga natin na nagbo-bloom ang kanilang skills, ang dami nilang natututunan, lumalabas ang kanilang mga individual personalities. Let's make the most out of this time. Let's enjoy this time also. Let's take care of our children's mental health, and we also have to look at their holistic development. Diba? Kaya pinag-usapan namin ang development, hindi lamang sa academic, pero lahat in terms of gross motor, fine motor, language, personal skills, social skills, and emotional skills. Lahat ito kasama sa development ng bata. Let's always focus on our connection with them as parents. Let's focus on having time together with them as a family. Masaya ang panahon na ito. Let's focus on the holistic development of the child. And tayo bilang magulang, mahalaga rin ang ating self-care, mahalaga rin ang ating routines as a family.
Maraming salamat po sa aming special guest speaker, si Doc Jack at si Doc Janice. We had a very fruitful discussion today. So you won't miss any of our videos. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and push on the notification button of Ped Titas. Maraming salamat po!
Bye!